we're going to switch back. Another note on the life and legacy of the great Henry Kissinger, somebody that knew him very well, my dear friend, Robert O'Brien, former National Security Advisor during the Trump administration. Thank you, Robert. You know, I mean, look, Henry's a controversial guy. Great people are always very controversial. I knew him personally. You knew him personally. I thought he was lovely and gracious. The question, I guess, you might consider his legacy. Take a stab at it. I know we don't have enough time to do it justice. You're going to come on the radio for me. But what's his legacy? How would you read that?
Well, Larry, what a life he led. I mean, you and I both knew him in 100 years. What an American story. He flees Germany as a refugee, comes here, turns around and goes enlists in the army as a sergeant. How'd you like to be an officer with Henry Kissinger as your enlisted sergeant? And goes back and fights the Nazis, comes home, gets his doctorate from Harvard, teaches at Harvard, advises every president from John F. Kennedy to all the way to Joe Biden, and helped you and me in the way. When he was in office, he was the only person to serve as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State at the same time. Served two presidents in office, President Nixon and President Ford. Helped with the key role in the war in 1973 for saving Israel. Brought about the opening of China, and that's controversial, granted, but a major accomplishment for him. Peace in Vietnam with the Paris Peace Accords. What a career.
Do you remember, one quick anecdote, the day we signed the deal with China, the Phase 1 deal, which the Chinese have not observed, I might add. But anyway, we signed the deal. Liu Ha was there representing him, the Deputy Prime Minister for the Economy, representing Xi. So remember, you're wheeling Kissinger. Henry was in a wheelchair. You're wheeling him through the basement. You look up, there I am, said, Larry, help me get him upstairs. We brought him up through the Oval to the dining room behind the Oval, right? Where a lot of people is, but they cleared the decks. We wheeled Henry in right next to President Trump. And so Trump says to Henry, he says, well, Henry, what do you think? And I'll never forget this. And Henry, with his accent, said, well, I wouldn't have done it that way, but you won. And Trump broke out in a big smile. I wouldn't have done it that way, but you won. I mean, Henry knew, I think, in his last years, that China was not the same China that when he opened it. That had gone back to being a statist, communist dictatorship. No market openings left. The Deng Xiaoping reforms were gone. I think he knew that. I mean, history will tell, but I think he knew that, Robert.
Well, he did. When I'm chairman of the Nixon Library, and we had Henry out to the library a number of times, and he was always gracious and came and helped promote President Nixon's legacy. But we talked about it on one of our last visits, and that is that he said when we let China in the WTO, that was a big problem. That's when things changed.
Yes.
China took advantage of the situation, claimed to be a developing country, really put the screws to America, hollowed out our middle class, hollowed out our manufacturing base, and it wasn't the same China that he'd opened with. And,
yes.
And so he understood at the end that China was not the same regime that he dealt with for so many years.
No, that's
and he knew that they'd taken advantage of us, and taken not just advantage of us, but taken advantage of the whole world.
We're running a picture of you and Henry Kissinger. Henry's on a cane at that point. I don't know when that picture was taken. But that point about the WTO is exactly right. Henry knew that. This was Lighthizer point. This was Trump's point. And so the whole game has changed for the worse. And the WTO thing never should have gone through. I mean, that's right. Plus, China has become far more repressive than it was when it was during the market opening days, let's say the 80s and the 90s. But I think, you know, whatever the controversies, Henry was a brilliant man, and he gave tremendous service to this country. I mean, you're talking about his World War II record, which is important, and then his government service. And that's pretty darn unusual. And I'm very disappointed that President Biden hasn't said something nice about Kissinger, because Kissinger advised Biden at Biden's request. You got the last word, Robert O'Brien.
Well, look, when I was a national security advisor, Henry would talk to me about every week or two. And anytime I had a big negotiation with the Russians or the Chinese or in the Middle East, I was always on the phone with Henry. And he was incredibly wise, He was deferential. He didn't try and tell me what to do, but he gave me his best advice, and he became a friend. And that picture that you showed of us walking into the Nixon Library, it was a special night, and it's a special picture. We gave Henry Kissinger the Architect of Peace Award that night, the Richard Nixon Foundation Architect of Peace Award, recognizing his role in détente with the Russians, with the Paris Peace Accords, with Rhodesia, and ending that civil war in Rhodesia. And at every turn, he was a man of peace, and he's unfortunately, the far left has always hated him, just like they hated Nixon, just like they hated Trump. And it's really unfortunate. My wife made the point that how sad it is for a man who dedicated his whole life to his country, his adopted country, that there's so much vitriol and nastiness about this man who died. And I think part of it goes to the anti-Semitism that we're seeing so prevalent now among the left and the progressives. And you know, Henry Kissinger was a great American. I was proud to be his friend, and I know you were as well.
I was too.
By the way, in those trade negotiations, you mentioned Lighthizer and Trump. There was a guy named Kudlow who had a pretty big role in that as well.
Well, I spent 5.5 hours with Henry at his place. He's an hour north of me in Connecticut. We were going to have a nice lunch. I wound up staying 5.5 hours, 3 legal pads later, on China. Robert O'Brien, thank you for giving us your time. We appreciate it very, very much.